Hey there, folks. Welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And yes, as you can tell, I am back home. So is this technically a vacation vlog? Well, yes, because I still have some stuff that was shot on vacation that I wanted to integrate here. Got 3 reviews on the docket today. It's not really taking the place of the Trailing Edge, although the sooner I get rid of that series, the better. More on that the end of this year. But you know what? I got 3 hip-hop reviews on the docket, so let's get started.
I got homies in the grave, I got brothers in the pen, I got some that's coming home, I got some that's going in. Try to go to visitation, but they wouldn't let me in.
You know, I've been sitting on this Maxo Kream review for some time now, and honestly, I'm still kind of frustrated with this project in that I wish I liked it a lot more than seemingly everyone else does. Don't get me wrong, this guy has genuine talent. He's got a lot of force of personality, and really, I like his storytelling ability. I see the potential for this guy to really develop. The problem is that it hasn't really happened, and coming off of Punkin', this feels like a bit of a lateral move. Yeah, you get some larger ideas that are being presented here, showing how fatherhood, how he had that absent father, and now he's being raised by the streets, and, well, look what happened. But going beyond that, it just feels, well, a little bit undercooked overall. You get a very strong 21 Savage vibe, at least to me, in that a lot of the grooves and a lot of the trap elements are there, but stripped down. There's a meanness and darkness to a lot of the content. There's a grit that definitely comes through, but the atmosphere is kind of hit and miss. I'll be honest, some of the guest stars really don't contribute at all. I think ASAP Ferg just does not work on this whatsoever. And when you factor in the fact that the storytelling hasn't really evolved or developed layers of greater complexity beyond the larger project as a whole, it feels like a missed opportunity. Again, a bit of a lateral move. I don't hate this, trust me, but I think it's good without quite being great, and I get the feeling it should have been great given how much hype is behind it, especially when the hooks are not quite as tight as they should be. The album definitely runs long, and I feel like there are definitely points where Maxo Kream takes the easier way out. Still, not bad, but I wish I enjoyed it more. Solid 6 out of 10. You've probably already heard it, but if you haven't, it's worth a try. Check it out.
It's been a minute since I called you drunk. It's been a minute since we fucked things up. It's been a minute since I called you mine.
So I'll be honest, I had some questions and concerns about the new Hoodie Allen album. I had some hopes for it. I think it was the sort of project in which I think I could really vibe to. I thought I could really enjoy it. And that brand of pop rap has its specific place. And honestly, I dug this more than the hype. I significantly did. For one, it's shorter, it goes down more effectively, and he's embracing a more organic vibe this time, which I think is entirely up his alley. The grooves are better. There's a little bit more of a Chance the Rapper vibe, but it's not quite in the way where it feels like something that's going to appropriate his sound. He's able to speak with some of his pop culture references, but they're more finely tuned this time around. There's a couple songs like going near the back half of the project that I think are a lot better. Now, are there points that I'm not quite vibing as much with? I would say that is kind of true. I think some of the Chipmunk soul elements don't quite click in the same way, even though I do appreciate a little bit more of that Chicago vibe that does translate in. That actually is a good sound for him, balanced off against more of the New York sound. And overall, I think this is a better refinement of the sound. I think it will do better for him in the long run. Really, I think my struggle with a lot of Hoodie Allen stuff is getting to the deeper content, the more personal stuff. I want to see the stuff that actually cuts a little bit deeper, because I've got the feeling that he's got it, and he's got the technical skills to absolutely get there. If anything, his technical skills are the best they've been to date, especially against some of the more organic, kind of ramshackle production. So I guess we'll see where it goes from there, but this is absolutely the right stepping stone in that direction. And thus for me, you know what? For the vibe that it presents, I'm thinking a very strong 7 out of 10. Definitely make the chance to check it out. But, hey, Hoodie, what do you have to say?
Bro, who are you? How'd you get in my dressing room? What the fuck?
You know, this was the sort of project I never expected we would ever see again, especially given how it's little brother. We saw how it all ended, even despite the band having a lot of critical acclaim in throughout the 2000s, deservedly so, for some incredibly well-structured rhymes, a lot of mature content, and some phenomenal grooves. By the end, it just kind of petered out in a way that honestly never felt complimentary to the band's legacy. You kind of hoped he would have ended better, and thus when we get this project, almost a comeback project, it doesn't really feel like a comeback. It feels more like a coda that they've been working on for some time, and with Ninth Wonder no longer in the picture, who knew what it was going to sound like? So let me establish this right now. Yes, this is a much better ending to the whole Little Brother story than I think we got previously about nearly a decade ago. And it's a pretty great album as a whole, but it's also the sort of great album for which there's not a ton for me to really say about it, especially considering I already covered Fonte last year, and a lot of similar themes and arcs are present in his delivery. Yeah, he's growing older as a rapper. It's much more mature and middle-aged in its presentation, and Big Pooh can still go toe for toe with him, and that's honestly a real plus there. Of course, given that this is a Little Brother project, or it's still calling itself a Little Brother project, the way you had to rope people back in winds up being a metric ton of fan service, especially calling back to the minstrel show. And okay, I'm not against this in principle, especially when I like the concept of the album as a whole, which is framed as a funeral for Percy Miracles, one of the singers who was on the minstrel show. It's an interesting juxtaposition showing the celebration of life, the commemoration of his death, but also how that can be very much monetized, especially coming in black culture and hip-hop specifically. And they are making a pretty subtle point that they don't hesitate to call out with frequent shouts of blackness. Honestly, I like the subtle rejoinders that are spliced in across the album, showing how black culture is continuously commodified in the same way that the minstrel show was. It's a really good sequel in that regard, even if it does feel like some of the fan service is a little on the nose, more than a little heavy-handed at spots. That does get distracting. And while I'm on the topic of nitpicking here, I will say that I was a little bit annoyed that not all the production had the same presence and color and warmth and grit that you normally got from Ninth Wonder. That normally really stood out in a good way, and while a lot of the producers do a bang-up job and they really do compliment Big Pooh and Fonte, it's not quite as perfect as, let's say, the minstrel show or the listening were. That being said, I really did like this album. I think it's pretty damn great. I really find it hard to find any sort of dull moments, especially when you can really ease into that mature, laid-back, melodic, groovy hip-hop vibe. They haven't lost a step. You could have told that about Fonte just from last year. Just as true here. I wouldn't quite put it among their classics just yet, but again, it's a project that only gets better with every single listen, while still maintaining a real wry sense of humor, but also capturing some of the gravitas that comes with that age. It's gotta be respected. I really did dig this. It's a solid 8 out of 10, absolutely recommend it. Again, if you're a Fonte fan, you've already heard him trace some of this ground coming on his last album that came out just last year, and while I'm not sure this Little Brother project is quite as strong as that one, you know what? It's still worth your time. Still a great comeback. Happy to have it.
You a queen, you deserve a bigger ring. 1 or 2 offspring, picket fence, private wing, ready to live.